Greetings, Shalom. I've had these questions in the past multiple times and thoughts, but it seems like over time, I believe the Father's leading me to something about the timing even, and I still wait further, because if something's true, He always just confirms it over and over time, so we wait. But I'm not seeing in my mind right now how anything else can be true, even though we shouldn't make this above other things like the timing of resurrection. But it's still something in His Word. It's still something about this truth that we can speak of if it's done properly. The rest of the dead do not come to life until after the 1,000 years are finished. This is that age to come that we believe in, that we are not in right now, because Messiah shed His blood for the new covenant. From that day forward, the new covenant was established, and believers already had and received His Spirit long before some mystical 70 AD kingdom of heaven coming, lie and trick, twisting the scriptures and making certain scriptures look like something that they're not. That's how they do that. But instead, we also read that judgment was coming to Jerusalem, and they twist those scriptures and don't rightly divide that Messiah would be above every name, that all power would be given in heaven to Messiah. And that's what Messiah was speaking about, the coming literal judgment also on Jerusalem that finally came in 70 AD, is to be rightly divided from Messiah's coming, of which He's not speaking of which I wrote some things in the description, and way more can be said. That's just a sample of the foolishness and contradictions that become out of a lie. But right from the beginning in Genesis, all creation is deceived and in sin, and all creation, Adam and Eve, is covered. The gospel was declared from the beginning. The Father means whatever He says, He means it. It's never a lie or a trick. He declares the end from the beginning. That means the beginning is the end. That's what it means. And that they are one because of that truth. The end and the beginning are one, seen as one. And it wraps everything up with the good news message and gospel of the salvation of all through death, through the second death, through judgment, through everyone coming to the knowledge of the truth in due time, and the ages to come manifested in due time, not instantly. Messiah has been put up and put above every name, like we read. When we read that, it was already true. It is true. It was true long ago that Messiah is above all. But in Hebrews we read, it does not yet appear that that's so yet. Here's that one very simple verse that is dividing and saying it simply. He is above all, but it does not appear yet. The plan of what that will bring in the future is not here yet, like we read in Hebrews, and those words are true today. Surprise, His word is true. Every word. Those that are dead, because I read, the dead know nothing. And it's incredibly simple and can't be denied. Many other witnesses. There's never an assumption or teaching in Scripture that implies the dead are alive. That's just someone twisting the Scriptures. Nobody believed Moses was alive when he died. That's why the Father says He died. Father took His life while He was still strong. That means something. Messiah was spiritually filled up with the Spirit and strong, and He died young, strong in the Spirit, weak in the flesh. That's not the world's definition of strong. Being hung on a stake is all definitions of weakness and foul wickedness. That's why Moses had his eyes were not dim, representing and pointing forward to Messiah, amazing things. And the Father hid Moses, his body. He hid him. And the devils, peoples, through the devil, were looking for him. And they could not find him, because what the Father hides, no one can see unless He reveals, like Messiah says. Nobody knows the Father except the Son, and the Son except the Father, and anyone whom the Son wills to reveal himself to him. There goes their gospel, that you can just seek the Creator while you're dead and choose him out of free will rebellion and religion. It's whoever, it's according to his word. He has mercy on whom he has mercy. It's not up to man. Man doesn't choose to be born. The natural is screaming at religion's face and pride. Not a single soul has ever chose to be literally born. Do they think the spiritual contradicts that? Not a single soul ever chose the Creator and chose to receive his spirit out of some kind of good, better heart than the rest of humanity so that he can boast and say he's better, that it was by work. Something was good about me. I worked for it. I did something that most didn't. I worked. This is an abomination to creation in rebellion. They can't believe these things because they're in rebellion. They should fear the Creator for this, but they have no fear in their eyes. Nobody chose to be born or make up who and what they are. They didn't design their own body and life. Not a single drop. None of us did that. So also, it's the will of the Father on all things. It ultimately all goes back to the Father. Even being born again from above, we did not choose, just like we did not choose to be born naturally. And we did not create ourselves. So therefore, believers today are not creating themselves spiritually, but it's by the working of the Father in us, creating us into what we need to be, the new creation, which is a heart spiritual problem and not physical. And so then there's many people out there that are the true mystics that say that if you see something, it's wicked. And they got a couple scriptures like usual that they can separate, isolate, and twist to make it sound like their teaching is true. And we read no such thing. I read that there's going to be a new heavens and a new earth, right in our face, simple, and the man can't believe it. Somehow that's carnal to believe the truth. That's what the carnal man does. He's carnal and knows nothing, but he tries to make himself spiritual by making fun of those that believe in an actual new heavens and earth. That's not the definition of spiritual, to say things disappear. It's like a magic trick by the carnal man. I just make things disappear and make it mystical, therefore I'm spiritual. That's not the definition of spiritual. It has to do with keeping the commandments in the heart, not physical things not being ever again. I don't read that anywhere, do they? I don't read that what we see created is wicked all by itself, as if the Creator made a giant mistake in all of creation, everything in it. In fact, over and over and over again, he didn't make a mistake. And we read the opposite, that it's amazing, that creation, it's to be in wonder. And so what the new things will be like, well, they're not here yet in full. So we, why act like we know, speaking as if we know, but we can believe what we read, that they will be, that it will be new, a new full creation. That means a new man in Messiah, but also the whole creation being made new. Everything, all things, means all things, amazingly. The simple scriptures are so often denied in religion, and when they really mean powerful things, when they mean what they mean, all of a sudden it's a parable, and the parables become literal. It's like backwards spiritually with everything. Yes, we are looking forward to a new heavens and a new earth, whatever that will look like. We read that, and we read one of the disciples saying that because it's the truth in his word, a new heavens and a new earth. All faces of their tears will be wiped away. All means all in due time. It's a good news for the suffering creation. It was subjected to suffer because there's something must be that the Father knows that is eternal, if you will, that this is incredibly important, almost as if it'll be forever remembered. I don't know. These things, the Creator's wisdom and power scares someone if they start believing in him. Because how can it be? How can anything be? But delusion just like covers everything. It's not able to dwell or think or be given the Creator's thoughts. That's why we read they have no fear in their eyes. This is the good, proper fear, which means fear. There's something about this that's fearful. It might make someone turn at night to actually believe in their heart in the Creator and things to come. It would make them turn sometimes, or their heart start increasing, their heart rate. That's what that means. It's not in vain we read that someone trembles at his word. What does that mean to the wicked? That trembling at his word is stupid. It must look stupid, therefore it is. They don't understand what that's meaning in spirit. But and we read the rest of the dead, no matter how someone is understanding or not understanding, or the timing of it, we read the rest of the dead will be made alive. What does that mean to the church world? How come they never bring these things up? Isn't that the second resurrection? Isn't that the unbelievers? They're not the believers, are they? We could ask these questions to try to bring it out. Are the rest of the dead, were those the believers after the 1,000 years? Because isn't it clear that they're resurrected at the end of the age? Believers, they have this hope for real in their heart, of which unbelievers don't have this hope in their heart. So they perish in this way, in this life. That's what it is to be spiritually destroyed. They're perishing. This is not having to do with being tortured forever. But they are being tormented day and night by the presence of the Lamb, and they're tormented when a believer gets near them because light is shining on them. It's exposing that they don't believe. And it torments them. This is to be seen in spirit. It's a real torment today, right now, and has been. It's real. I've seen it too many times. Just being next to someone starts tormenting them. I've seen it too many times. You don't have to even do anything. It's going to sound prideful. How can we help whatever the Creator makes us become? What is the truth of prideful now? The Creator is making us pride. Because that happens, it's automatically prideful, I guess. Because Messiah torments everyone around him, and everyone viciously hates him. He must be doing wickedness automatically. No, he could be. I mean, he didn't. Someone could be. They have to be making sure. But no, it does not mean automatically, like they try to imply. To try to catch him in some kind of sin, like they did, chasing him around, trying to find dirt on him. It's interesting because the Pharisees knew that he came from Mary and Joseph. There was no Christian doctrine of the virgin birth going on back then that I can see. If there was, it would have been some crazy minority, I believe, because all of these were Hebrew people, the Old Covenant people. There was no Christian anything yet. It was all about the seed of Abraham, the flesh, coming from and being from that line. They had to know Messiah was literally from that line, or else they would have attacked him, because the prophecy says that he's going to be. And if you're not, you're a Gentile. You're viewed as a dog by the people back then for not being from Abraham, the kingdom. The Gentiles back then were only flesh Gentiles, meaning not from Abraham's literal seed. If Messiah was a Gentile, he would have been hounded for that reason and considered false instantly. Now, that's not to say that that heart is right. That's not the point. But this is like the reality of what would have been. And we read in Luke, Messiah was as supposed, and people reverse it. They invert it. They say that as was supposed means the opposite of what it actually means. It was as supposed. They can't believe the simple truth. It's amazing, stunning. Watch the Creator's wonders every day. Watch the wonders and power of what man cannot do, even not believing simplest of scriptures. As was supposed. Any other time in life, when someone would talk like that, it would mean what it means in this life, right now in real life examples. But now when it comes to Messiah, it means the exact opposite. If we were to speak like that in the real world today, it would mean, as was supposed, there wouldn't be any opposite meaning by anybody. Virtually no one would do that. But now it cannot believe that it was as supposed, meaning literally from Mary and Joseph. They knew. Literal son of Mary and Joseph. We read father and mother and parents. We read all of those things. We do not read legal father, mother, and legal parents. Not even once. Not even in the corrupt critical text do we read that they created in 1900 or whatever. A text that never existed for 1800 years, literally never existed. Nobody read that text before as it is today. Even there, we don't read legal parent, legal father, legal mother. They add to his word spiritually what's not there. And I read not to do that. It's a strong judgment. Don't add or take away from his word. Why are they adding what's not there? What's the excuse for adding? This is what it means, so I'm not adding. Well, it's a nice trick, you know. That's okay if it's actually truth to add what is in Scripture and what it really means. But there is nothing in all of Scripture, nothing in Genesis, nothing in Exodus. If we read without partiality and seek the Creator for truth, there is no implication that Messiah was born yet. In fact, everything is the exact opposite. They're looking forward to his birth. And when he was born, the wise men came, of which we don't read a specific number. But, many say there was 3. Maybe so, but we don't read that. It's just these weird traditions stick everywhere. Why were they so happy? Maybe because of the good news that this would bring in the future for all mankind, like we read, glad tidings and great joy for which shall be for all people, all faces, their tears will be wiped away. I would think you still need a face for tears to be wiped off your face. People are destroying people by telling lies. Where in Scripture does it say that you won't have a face? I don't know of any Scripture. Or you won't have knees. I only read the opposites. It's kind of funny how this world works. Is there something inherently evil about having hands? I don't read that in Scripture, even though the hands do evil and the feet run quickly to evil. That's a heart condition. It's bringing out the feet can do good also with the Creator Spirit and run to good. So therefore, it's not the feet's problem by itself, not the hands' problem. Messiah did good with his hands. This throws away that hands are evil inherently. But as it is, yes, without the Creator, people do evil with their hands and feet. But it's even spiritually pointing back to the heart, though. It doesn't have to be literally running to evil, even though people do that. They run to the dog pile, they want evil. Gotta go. I'll catch the bus later. I gotta fight for my friend. I need an excuse to fight. That's why I'm fighting. I just found an excuse for it. What's my excuse? Backing up my friend, bro. No, we're supposed to run away from evil, like we read in Proverbs or elsewhere. Walk away from it. What do you do? What do the world do? What does the world do if you walk away from evil? You're wicked. It means you don't care. While you obey the Creator, mankind hates you for it. So therefore, if mankind is loving you and it's increasing, they must be doing evil. Therefore, more and more shall and must hate his people for doing more righteousness, the Father's righteousness, because this world will not love it. The world does not know him and cannot know him. Like Messiah says, cannot know him. Just the truth, that's it. We accept the truth. Truth is not prideful, but it appears prideful to enemies still. That's like saying everybody doesn't know him unless he has mercy on them, unless they seek his will and have his Spirit. Yes, it does mean that. And even those believers didn't know him first. It applies to everyone. The only person in the world that was born while he was born was Messiah. That's it. A special chosen one. the King of Kings. It must be special to be King of Kings. We just accept this truth. The Father did it. We can't do anything about it. It's good news, not bad. Messiah is special because the Father said so. Who can turn back whatever he chooses to do? Even though it is for everyone, he's still special, though, in a way that we're not King of Kings. Nobody's King of Kings except him, but the Father is the King of Kings. We read that, but he made Messiah to be King of Kings. He gave all things to him. The kingdom to Messiah, judgment to Messiah, power to Messiah, above every name to Messiah, given by the Creator, given. Messiah did not give it to himself. So therefore, there's no pride in it because it's given. When someone receives something, someone gives, it's not pride. But those that don't have, they try to give it to themselves. This is the prideful way. If they would just be humble and do the Creator's will, they would have what they're trying to get through the fake way, which isn't the real things. Wanting to be God and King is like the wannabe prideful version of being humble and lifted up by the Creator. They would be lifted up the true way, but since they want to be lifted up the false way, they don't get the real thing. They don't get the real blessing of actually being lifted up. It never comes when pride is lifting up itself through pride. When you try to give yourself life, the real life never comes because you're trying to do it yourself instead of being humble and doing the Creator's will and denying ourselves. And he gives us life. Someone goes in the religion and tries to give themselves life. It doesn't work. After they stop jumping up and down, they're not doing so good at home all by themselves. And it just gets worse. It's just the crazy delusion out there. The mega churches, everything, everybody's being converted. Airplanes and jets flying in the sky. I mean, there's some humor to this. That's how desperate people are to save people. That's human nature, to desperately fly and save people. It's desperate to be in a plane, mocking all the people that have gave them money, making fun of them, putting their sin onto the people and saying they're retarded for believing them and smoking a joint secretly. And I don't, it's not just to bring out the picture. This is corrupt. This is evil. These are not good people in jet planes saving people. It's a little scary what's going on today. It seems to be increasing up to anti-Messiah spirit God-man till they establish him. The temple is coming, and ye are the temple. Therefore, a man is coming that says he's the God of all gods, the greatest blasphemy in Daniel, like we can read that there is. But each one spiritually needs to understand what this man of sin is, because it applies today. It applied 100 years ago. But it will manifest. But manifesting has nothing to do with us. What does it mean today for us to be the God of gods and man of sin in our own temple, replacing the Creator and following our own self and creating our own things? Maybe that's why we read about Messiah, about the prophecy of this. Let the reader understand. I wonder if that applies to every single soul that ever lived that believed. Let the reader understand. Yes, it does. Let the reader understand. This applies to us. The deadly wound of the beast is being conceived, basically. But then the false prophets kill, steal, and destroy, but they save the old man and heal the deadly wound of the beast. This is a spiritual work. I don't know how that would manifest at the end. It's not that important compared to the real things. But people are speaking of the carnal things and some end only. It's going on a lot. But then it seems like it always has. It's funny because I mean, as the time goes on, it's getting worse carnally. Even like not even the church world preached the rapture 400 years ago. It was like non-existent virtually. At least that's what the history seems to say. At least they said things that were closer to truth back then. Now, I wouldn't know if there was some that believed that, but I mean, it seems to be a fact that it did start at some point and it blew up. There's evidence that it was not like this before, even in the church world. Now, rapture is seen as truth by many. 1800s, I think. It's interesting because the 1800s, there seemed to be a lot of evil blowing up. Then again, what generation hasn't there been things like that? The late 1800s also brought on that his word hasn't been preserved. So they created a text that never existed for the New Testament. It seems pretty vile to me after looking into these things and seeking truth on it. It's a total rejection of his word being handed down and Messiah's promise, as his word does too. My word will not pass away. Easier for heaven and earth to pass away. That's like a way of utterly saying it will not pass away. It will not pass away. And so every generation somewhere, his word exists somewhere that's not created by man, that has no connections to the source. But they can say it does because it's going to have a lot of right words. That's not the meaning of connection. Even if it has a lot of right words and truth that the source might have or would have, it's still true that they created a text that nobody ever read for 1800 years. It seems pretty significant to me. The Greek text, nobody read this specific text that is in most Bibles today as it is now 200 years ago. Nobody. This is not saying that there's not a bunch of right words and right scripture. That's not the point. It's the specific text never existed before until the late 1800s. It just seems real evil to me. I can't see any good in it after testing it. And I believe it is waxing worse and worse, and there's all kinds of things are like this that I'm seeing. It's coming together for worse. It's like perverting his word even worse, trying to twist it, change Messiah's words, of which there's many, many changes, way more than I ever thought. It's all over the place compared to the traditional text. But that's, this is just the truth. Something about something is true, but this, we don't make it about this ever. That's a corrupt word, but to say that there's no importance in it, it's a lie too. If it's truth, it's important. If something is true, it's important, whether it's greater or lesser. To say we're getting closer to the original is to utterly say we don't have preserved anything and never did, or haven't for a long time. Breaking Messiah's words, breaking the Father's word and promise. I guess the creator of the heavens and earth wasn't able to do this, but he was able to create all things, but he wasn't able to preserve his word and Messiah's word so that they don't look like fools and liars and hypocrites, and so that the Father's name can be blasphemed. Amazing. But I can't say I'm 100% sure on the timing, but there seems to be everything lining up right now in my mind to the second resurrection possibly being later, like literally second also, instead of lower, but also literally lower second. Kind of like Noah's day, where were the wicked? They weren't there. And I don't have a problem admitting some mystery that I don't see. If he gives, he gives. If not, he doesn't. But I believe That's why Messiah says it will be like Noah's day, because it's a type of things to come. It's going to be something like it spiritually always, but something like it at the end also, as the world is dying and getting flooded by the Creator's judgments. And we see and watch people dying and death. Something about it's true at the end too. The righteous are decreasing from the earth, not getting better. Who believes this in their heart, that this is the reality of the prophecy Messiah is teaching, that it's going to be like Noah's day at the end of the age, which was not only a mere 40 years after he said that. So vile, it's such an abomination and trick. Abraham to Messiah was about 2,000 years. People can check from Abraham to Messiah. The new covenant age was not 40 years long. Gentiles were not being grafted in for 40 years, and then the end came, and now they stopped being grafted in, meaning nobody has been a believer since 70 AD. That's a pretty devil teaching. I wonder why they teach it. Maybe because it means they believe there's no believers in their heart. They never believed in true believers being here. Is that why they teach it? These are the secret works in darkness of people. Messiah says they always do their works in the night. They don't go in the open. They never say what they believe, and they never believe what they say. Messiah does believe what he says, and he said it in the open with no trickery. Their lack of understanding isn't Messiah's fault. He didn't do that work from his heart. He didn't hide wickedly from people. He spoke in the open. But the false prophets speak in darkness so that nobody can see what they're thinking and believing and doing. This has reality to it. It's a spiritual reality. It's a hard thing to swallow once the Father starts seeing us, showing us the works and proof that this is what's happening. Because it's hardcore delusion. It really is. It's hardcore. It's too great of a conspiracy, the Father's truth, to believe the truth in people's minds. Nobody does that. If the image is good, it must be what they're saying and believing. Not so. Not so. That's why we read about the image of the beast. People believe the image that they sell, that they want you to believe they're saying and selling. Believers do not buy and sell the image of the beast. Therefore, they're killed by this world spiritually, because they don't do the deeds of evil as the world does in darkness continually. They can't be doing that. The apostle says they're killed. We're killed all the day long like sheep for the slaughter. How do you get killed all the day long? Literally. He's not speaking of natural right there. He's not speaking of a natural thing, but spiritual. And it's real. Murder's in the heart. That's how someone kills someone. Counts for killing in heaven. Counts for murder in heaven. Murder on earth is just literally killing someone, but in order to do that, you have to murder in your heart first. Nobody has ever murdered someone and not done it in the heart. How do they do that? If they say they can pull that off, they're a liar. Just like we read, if someone can't love their brother who they see, how can they love the Creator who they don't see? Literally, they're a liar. They lie if they try to say that. That's all man does, is lie. This is what he does. He just says the right words, lies. I didn't mean anything bad. I didn't intend anything bad. It better be true. It better be absolutely true that you didn't intend anything bad. Correcting your mistake and works that someone did, and then just filling it in and saying, I didn't mean anything bad by it, when the work was evil itself. How come no one looks at the works in this world? The work was already done. You're not a murderer. You're a good guy. You're not a killer. And there's a guy dead right below their feet. The guy shot him with his revolver. Someone's comforting him, saying, you're not a murderer. What does that mean? It's a delusion. There's no reality to it. He's a murderer. Justifications and reasons don't matter. None of it matters. There's no justification for murder in heaven ever. He's a murderer, regardless of his excuses. Messiah didn't murder anyone. Are we supposed to be murderers? Is that following Messiah's footsteps? We believe in the Father's will. If it's our time, then that's what it's going to be. And we don't resist it. Yeah, that's a hard thing to swallow. But I read that the saints love not their lives to the death. Those are for true believers, not the unbelieving world. Only true believers love not their lives to the death. This is not speaking of unbelievers, ever. Unbelievers love their soul to the death. We have to be not loving our soul and life to the death because of what it means. The works it requires to do to love our soul are wicked. And it denies actual belief of things to come. These things have to be built up. The faith needs to be increased. And then when we believe more, we let go of our life more. And if they want to literally kill us, then come and get us. You should be sweating bullets for doing it, though, because their day is coming. But they have no fear in their eyes concerning the proper fear and for doing evil. They're storing up wrath just like believers are storing up treasures in heaven now and to come. They're storing up wrath now and to come. It's not going to be over after they die. It's starting when they die. It's just beginning. They're going to have to see what they did and believe what they did and see it and acknowledge what they did. That's going to be hard to swallow. Sounds like wrath to me. But the treasures in heaven and blessings are now and to come. But they're being stored up also because there's something coming. But the wrath is being stored up also. We read, one, so the other. Good, so the evil. Light, so the darkness. It's the same thing, except it's the opposite thing. Wrath, darkness, death. Though everyone will have to face it. We need to face our thoughts and wicked hearts today. He corrects us and judges us now so that we keep getting cleansed until the end and purified and perfected at our end. There's not much time to be perfected. Every believer has to be perfected at their end, whatever their end is. I wonder what the last work it's required for every believer that ever lived. It makes me wonder if it's literal death. I wonder if it happens to everyone. I don't know. I can say it seems to happen to many at the very least. They have to prove they don't love their life to the death. Because there's no way the Father allows us to just say those words without proving it. No way you can just talk and it means nothing in the heart. You never did it. No way. The testing will come for those that believe. Continually. Test. I don't know what the final test looks like, but it must look something like a tribulation of a woman in labor. It's the biggest at the end. It's also when the star shines the brightest before it shoots off, like they say in this world. It's also when Stephen gets stoned to death, shining his brightest, even seeing the heavens being opened or something. Seeing something to come and having belief and power and faith and not worried that he's getting stoned to death. Even saying, forgive them, don't count it against them, like Messiah said. Forgive them, they know not what they do. Do they know what kind of tribulation and change of the heart it requires to actually do that in the heart for real while getting attacked and murdered? This world makes me puke with the words it says. It never does what it says. It takes an immense amount of power and change to be able to do what Stephen did at the end with the heart for real while they're stoning him. Don't count it against him. It's not a trick. It means his heart actually did that, just like Messiah's heart did that. That takes an incredible amount of tribulation and suffering to get to that point. Beyond imagination, beyond man's imagination. He does the wicked thing if a grain of sand comes in his eye from somebody, let alone what we read they did to Messiah. He goes off just for calling his mother some kind of name, let alone what they did to Messiah. He didn't do the righteous thing for someone calling their mom some name. Didn't do it. Couldn't do it in the heart. And Messiah's doing it while they're murdering him. The difference is eternal. Might as well use that word. Or everlasting. It's as far as the east is from the west. That's how much the sins will be removed for salvation that comes to his people. They are forgiven. They're removed. But that end is not here yet. And yet it's a promise for believers. And then the church world confuses this too, just breaks everything. They don't understand what it is to be being saved continually, and then salvation comes at the end. It hasn't come yet. If we're still alive and breathing, it's not here yet. Must endure to the end. Then salvation comes for those that have endured to the end. It's true. Those will be saved. And those that haven't will not. They have to go through the judgment and destruction. There's a difference between the righteous and unrighteous. The Father makes a distinction, not because of them, but because of the Father. There's a difference between Lot and Sodom and Gomorrah. Notice what Lot does, though. Was he perfected? Notice the rank sin he did, and he's called righteous. Is the Father calling that work righteous? No, he's not. He's just telling us what people do. They're not perfected in one day, but they better be on that path. Same with all the saints. Father just tells us what they do. He's not hiding it. They more than make mistakes. It's the only way to learn. It's the only way to receive judgment and learn. It's a very perfect, fine, narrow way and line between wondering if you're not a believer and fitting the truth. It's such a fine line. It's all necessary, but it's such a fine line to live it. To not actually make excuse for sin, but then the sin that happens that's necessary, that we learn and have to overcome, is part of the necessity of it. Such a fine line. It's a fine line. That's why we read, do we sin so grace increases? He's saying that because this is true. Because it's necessary in a narrow way, he's saying that. Because people are going to use it for an excuse to sin. That's how they'll see this truth. Might as well sin then. If everyone's going to be saved eventually, might as well sin right now. Okay, enjoy your destruction. Don't complain when you die hardcore from all that adultery. Don't complain now. Bear it, Cain. Bear your load. Bear your guilt, sin guilt. Think that there's no death while someone sins, thinks that the Father's unrighteous and can be mocked. Go and sin then. Figure it out. Find out for yourself. Let the filthy be filthy still. Off you go. We don't stop them. We don't want that to happen, but we don't stop them. I'm not going to stop someone if that's what the determined thing is in their mind. You think you can now murder someone? Go kill someone and see what happens. See what happens to your life. See if the Creator isn't true. See if his judgment isn't strong for murdering someone literally. Go and do that, since everyone will be saved. Have a nice life. What's left of it? Maybe they should examine what happens to every soul that does that. They go insane. They go into institutions. They kill themselves. They destroy their families. They hate everyone and everything for that war and killing that they did. Now they have to go and kill more for killing. They'll call it some name and feed you pills when the Creator can heal us. Sorcery. The sin is in the heart. It's a spirit and spiritual problem. But they'll put it in a category, a box, and a name for it. They don't care about these people. They don't give them the good news. They stuff pills in their face. They mock them and make fun of them in their secret time, then act like they love them when they're around them. They don't give them the good news, do they? Doesn't seem to be happening. They don't give them any truth or hope. They don't believe in healing. They don't believe in forgiveness because they don't forgive anyone in their own heart. They remember everybody's sins while the Father forgets them. Does that mean he doesn't judge us now for sin? No, it does not. Two separate things. Two separate things. And if they're made one, it's a lie. And they've just destroyed truth within themselves and someone else. They're two separate things. But the elect have to make sure that they're elect, because we read that. They can have confidence because we read that. No, they can't be prideful about it and act like it's finished because we read things about that. It has to continue to abide in the vine. It can't say I'm done when there's all this growth to do. I sprouted, now I'm done. Okay, if you say you're done, you're finished now. It's going to die. It'll come back on them. Whatever measure someone judges, they are judged by the same measure, Messiah says. Careful what someone judges, because it comes back on you the same judgment, meaning when you're a hypocrite and go and break what you say, the Father's going to judge you just the same way as you did the evil to someone else will come back on you. Now there won't be mercy in this way for that judgment. It's going to come. It only applies in a one-way street with the carnal man. He could do whatever he wants to others, but no one else can do the same thing he does back to him. That's not loving neighbor as self. It's the exact opposite. Doing to others what they do to you, return it. Not how they would want them to have done to them. Not that, which sums up all the law and the prophets. Just because it does that, now what? There's no laws. The reason why that has meaning and power is because all those things are connected to it. Disconnect them and it's void. It's worthless. It means nothing. They're just empty words. Here's what all the things make up those words. Here's all the laws and commandments that make up those words. Disconnected, and now love is the devil's love. It means nothing. Just the image, just a look-alike on the outside, a shadow, but it's not real inside. The law and the prophets hang. They hang, meaning they're connected. Anything that hangs off something's connected. You cut off all the things that's hanging. Now that first thing has no meaning. It means nothing. There's no definition for anything. It's cut off. Love does not murder. Take away murder, don't murder. What's love now? Nothing. It could be whatever you want, which will only be evil, because it's definitely don't murder. Murder's okay now. Therefore, what? Love is murder. Take away don't steal. Does love steal? No, love does not steal. Take away don't steal, and you took away love. Oh, it's over. And any other commandment. Adultery, rape, sorcery, witchcraft, all of it. It's connected. The Creator doesn't want his people drinking blood, because those that drink blood are murderers. That's what it means in heaven, to drink blood. He makes Egypt drink blood for spilling blood. Now you have to drink more blood, meaning you have to kill more till you're destroyed. You have to go in more wrath, death, and destruction. You spill blood, this is what you want, you're going to get it, period. Nothing anyone can do about it. Drink rivers of blood now, Egyptians and Pharaoh. That's what they did till they got flooded. That's the world, Egypt. The world is darkness because Egypt is darkness. Darkness comes on Egypt. Plagues, frogs, foul spirits, wrath and anger, confusion, Babylon, which means mixing, and confusion from mixing, specifically from mixing, is what the confusion is, mixing everything. Tower of Babel and Babylon, confusion and mixing. Mix, mix, mix. Mixing good and evil, mixing it all and creating a mutation that's not true, that doesn't exist with the Creator. That's not the truth. It's a mixing. The tree of good and evil is mixed. No difference. It's just all mixed. There's no truth or evil. It's just all evil. There's no evil set aside and good set aside. It's just all mixed. It's just all evil. There's no rightly dividing. Genesis is teaching. Man doesn't want to rightly divide his truth and his word in real life things. Can't just read something and take it and create a doctrine on it all by itself. But that's what's done so often, the most. No prophecy or scriptures of its own interpretation or self. It doesn't come from self. The scriptures can't be broken, Messiah said. That's the truth. It can't actually be broken in heaven. But man breaks it. But he can't break it in reality. It's a delusion. It's a judgment. If someone breaks his word all the time, that means they're in death. They're not in life. There's no reality to it because you can't break his word. If you do, you're in death. Get being blind, punished, confused, all mixed up. Give them a mixed drink. Even the wicked say don't mix alcohol and beer, right? So many of them. Why? It's even stronger. This makes them feel righteous when they do it. If they back off the more hardcore thing, now it's okay to drink a lot and get drunk with just one alcohol. Okay? We read literally even why people drink to take away their misery and sorrow. They're in trouble. The bubbles are spinning. The wine, the bubbles. We read the warning of seeing it, tempting it, someone. Strong spiritual temptation for someone. Give them a double portion, give them a mixed cup of judgment. We read mixed drink, double portion. They're spiritually drunk to the judgment. Something like being drunk. It's all over the place. It doesn't make any sense. It's stumbling. It's dying. It's confused. It's laughing at its own folly, and others are too. It takes pride in its folly. It says, what did I do? Tell me what I did. I don't remember. I came here to forget, which is a contradiction to all life. I came here to have a good time, very good time, to forget everything. Accidentally do things, get people pregnant too on accident. The fruit of evil, you never know what might happen. One sin leads to another. Then it goes and blames someone. Then the other person is getting judged too, and maybe they do something that the other person doesn't know, so something bad happens because that person's in wrath too. Father's using the woman to judge the man. She's going to do something sneaky on the man because she can't stand what the man's doing because there's no blessing in it. She has to hate him in the heart. Then man is confused and wonder why she hates him so much. Because it's all sin, that's why. Why would she do that to me? Because the Father's dishing out judgment, Adam, to you for not ruling over. That's why, for you being a sinner and not ruling over properly like we read. Now you're going to pay for it. How often is this happening in this world with relationships? It's mind-boggling. It's stunning. It's like the reality of the Father's truth is, where is it? Does it exist? Or are all families and marriages broken, save like a spare few? And not because of their good, that they're good themselves, but because of the Creator's mercy, if that's true. Well, I actually got answers from these. It's the first time that I can remember ever seeing that. I can actually read something this time, like today and good topic. Maybe there's some progress happening, some hope for somebody. I don't know what's going on there. I think that's it. It seems like it's impossible to speak about any truth without having all the wickedness right next to it. It's right there, right next to it. Like if we speak about truth, it's revealing something that's evil at the same time. Kind of a hard thing to do constantly. It's always there. It's always right there, trying to be right next to it. But I do see the sun, wherever the literal sun is, it's exposing darkness, and it's right next to the light. If someone speaks about the light and truth, you can only do that because it's revealing the darkness at the same time. What's hidden, covered, darkness, sin, death, lies. Right next, it's doing it at the same time. The creation is speaking. The creation is saying, the Father is light, and he exposes darkness, and he is the light. And Messiah is made now light, and he gives us light, but the creation is speaking. It goes around and conquers darkness. And it exposes what was always there, but it was hidden in the darkness until light hits it. Now it's seen for what it is. Now the heart is seen for what it is. Things that were always there, we never saw. Pride that was always there, we never saw. Adultery in the mind and heart that was always there, we never saw. Stealing and lying that was always there, we never saw. Playing games and tricks and deceit that was always there, we never saw. It's too easy to do. It's just natural. It's a natural man. Just naturally does that. It takes no power to do all that. It takes all the power to do whatever's right. Power comes from above. We do need it. We can't do it without the Creator, without Messiah. Can't do it because Messiah couldn't do it without the Father. Of himself, he could do nothing, like we read. And they don't teach that in the church world. Seem to never even bring it up. Or if they do read it, it's like it doesn't matter. They just read it, but it doesn't matter. It's like not seen. What do they think that means? God could do nothing of himself, apparently. It's blasphemy. There's nothing the Creator can do. Is there anything too hard? We read for the Creator. He works, and who can turn back what he does? All these teachings that he does this, and all of a sudden God can do nothing by himself. No wonder the world blasphemes Christianity. It deserves it in its own way through darkness. Why should an unbeliever accept that and all this hypocrisy and contradictions? They don't represent the truth. Why should they get angry and say they're going to burn in hell forever when they are messengers of darkness themselves, teaching lies? This is twisted. This is all mixed up. It's a mixed up world. It's hardcore mixed up. There's almost a sense of in favor for the unbelievers in a way, but not in favor of what they do. But standing up for the stupid lies. And in that way, it's like for them, because they don't know any, but that's what they got fed. They got fed lies. What else do they have now except contradictions and hypocrisy in the heart to see? It's not, how is that good? How is that blessed by the Creator? I read things about the poor, the widow, the fatherless. There's no justice in this world. Nobody's standing up for them. Isn't that what we read over and over, to do that? Does that mean accept the sin? No, it does not mean accept the sin and say it's okay. That's not what this is meaning. It means to reveal the wickedness that people are doing to the poor, the fatherless, and the widow, that they're doing wickedness and have no mercy on them. There's no justice. How come we read that so often? Why did Messiah teach it himself? Whoever does wickedness to the poor, we read, they do it to the Creator. They despise what's the word in Proverbs? Can't think of the word right now, but I know we read it quite a few times. Have they ever considered that fatherless is meaning the heavenly thing too, the higher thing? No Creator, the fatherless, not just the literal fatherless. Isn't that seems to be the same for the widow too? The father's cut off, not that the widow's father, but husband. But I read Messiah is like a husband, and the father is like a husband to the people. We read that. And they rebelled because the problem was in the heart. And they didn't have any power to overcome sin and death according to what it means for the heart. Now there is power available. No one can actually make an excuse that stands in heaven, because that's like saying the Creator can't do it when he can. It's not up to our own works. We can't put self and create a teaching. It's to believe in the Creator, and He does the works in us. So to deny that is to deny His power. We can't do it. That is the point. That's what's supposed to be acknowledged. We can't do it. Can't do what's required from self power. I don't know what this will all look like, Do we have to know exactly what it looks like in the future to have truth concerning the 1,000 years and other things? That's like putting a heavy yoke and bondage and chains on someone. If we create something and you don't know 1% of it, that means what you say is all lies. That's a trick. It's a tactic. To throw down truth. The Father has shown me Numbers 6, 7, and 8. And there's order in Numbers. 6 never comes after 4. It comes after 5. And 7 comes after 6. And 8 comes after 7. The Father never does the work of 8 coming after 6. It's just a spiritual fact that I see. That's who He is. He doesn't do that work. He does not skip order Himself, the Creator of everything in order and law. Therefore, the new creation representing number 8 can't come before 7. So the 1,000 years must be the 7th day of rest. Then the new creation and the full must come after it. I don't know what that looks like, but that's the order I see. A restoration in between of all things. I don't know what that looks like. It's 6, 7, and 8. So then when I hear things that mess up the order, I see 6, 8, and 7 in my mind. It doesn't work, though. because 7 is going backwards after 8, coming after 6. 8 is skipping 1 from 6, and it's 7 after 8 is going backwards 1. It's out of order. It must be the 8,000 year that the new creation is in the full. Something like that, and not 7. 7 is like all things being made new, but it's not the whole entire creation yet, but only like believers would be the first resurrection made new. But then the whole creation being made new is a little later. Must be. I don't see anything else. It seems like a perfect order to me. 6, 7, and 8. Carnal, spiritual, new creation. There's nobody that's number 8 right now except Messiah. That's man. And then the believers at the first resurrection would be made new, completely new. This is their new full new creation for themselves, overcoming all death and sin. But what about the whole entire creation itself, though? Does that day happen at that day? I don't believe so. I believe it happens later. Because the Father doesn't do weird things like just make everything fixed. You have to go through the process. It's already true for believers. How much more can it be true? That has to be true for everyone else in creation. They can't just be made new instantly. They have to go through some kind of process. Because he doesn't do that to believers now. Why would he do that to the rest of creation? That's like partiality, working way differently with some people than others. We read of all these miracles in Scripture, as if they're just true. There's no boasting in it. Here's what happens, done, next. Here's what happened, person got healed, next. There's no boasting in it. Just here's the truth, here's what happens. Maybe there's some miracles to come. The Creator seems to require us to believe in actual miracles. Gets us to believe in crazy things. It's showing us crazy things. Showing us miracles spiritually already today. Showing me many things. And he already did it. He can't do it again. I do read he will do it again. I read something like that. He did it, he'll do it again. Recreating creation. Is it carnal to believe that there's an age to come? There's people out there that are implying that this is carnal or something because of things to come. I don't see that in his word anywhere. Abraham is given the gospel. The apostle says that. We don't read it just like that with Abraham, though. I don't recall reading it just like that anywhere with Abraham. Here's the gospel. But it is, though. It's the good news that he was given. All families of the earth will be blessed through that seed, Messiah. I don't see that reality today. I see most of the families of the earth are cursed in darkness. How could someone say this has been fulfilled in the past? How? There's no reality to it. When they say that, that means they create definitions of reality as nothingness. In people's mind, reality means nothingness because there's no reality to what they say. Now they get the person to believe in nothingness. That's not who the Father is, nothingness. Well, if this is the definition of all the families of the earth blessed, we're in some serious trouble. It's not true because I say that, but it's just true anyways. We're in serious trouble if that's already past tense for all peoples, everything. That means it's never going to get better than this. In fact, that's what many do teach. It goes on like this forever. Death, forever, forever and ever. Then they contradict themselves and create a church and are saying that the gospel needs to go around. Their doctrine says it's going to be like this forever, but then they say they're saving people and eventually everyone will be to the knowledge of truth. Lying contradictors, man. Makes no sense. It's total hypocrisy. Their doctrine's finished. It says it will be like this forever. It can never change. But then they're saying they're saving people, that people need to hear some kind of good news, that all things have passed away already. That's their gospel. That's all they do. That's all they spread, that all things have passed. It's not the gospel. Don't worry, no trouble's coming because it happened 2,000 years ago to Jerusalem. Okay, when a hailstone hits someone's head, they'll still be crying out their doctrine right to their death. When famine comes, all those people that it deceived, how stupid is it going to look and be? Preacher man, you said no trouble was coming and it's getting worse. Inflation's coming, the system's collapsing. Preacher man, don't worry, I'm God. 2,000 years ago, Messiah came and the resurrection happened and Jerusalem got destroyed and the Jews used to talk like that for prophecy. I hate his word, I'm a vicious, evil man, blah, blah, blah. Don't worry, you'll be fine. Okay, preacher man, okay. Sick. It's total ignore 2,000 years of history, World War I and II, not mentioned ever. Snakes, never mention it. Not that long ago, people were suffering, literally. Many people died, literally. They think it'll never happen again because of their damnable doctrine. Okay. Sick. Makes me angry. This is evil. This destroys people completely. Destroys everything in them. Destroys all hope in them. If there was any at all, it's gone. Speaking out of truth, not wanting something to be true, speaking out of truth because it's true. That's lies, that's evil. Bad times are coming and everyone, it's like screaming at everyone's face that it's coming. Something's coming. They tell you. Even the devil tells you. It gives you everything for anyone that's watching. The reset is coming. Cryptocurrency's coming. You can't go from one state to another eventually. It's coming unless you do what they say. It's always going to go into a direction of more control while some prophet is screaming and turning red, getting angry that he's in delusion and can't believe it, that his prophecy is utterly failing in the most massive way possible, that no trouble's coming. Tell that to the people that died in World War II, no trouble's coming. Tell that to the people in all the wars that have ever happened. Tell that to the Ottoman or whatever empire that collapsed some time back completely, and all the people that suffered while it collapsed. Tell that to the Roman Empire after Jerusalem collapsed sometime later and their collapse. Tell all those people that no trouble was coming. Do they forget how many nations have come and gone in the last 2,000 years? They don't seem to tell you in the church, in the schools, why they come and go or even make a big deal out of it. I thought that's history. Isn't that what you learn in history? Or do they just want to know specific things about a couple things in history and sort of block all that? Don't tell anyone why nations come and go because of sin, like Sodom and Gomorrah as an example of all nations that would happen and perish from their sin in due time. And that how many times this happened over and over again. The Creator has proven his word is true and that his judgments are true. They act like this hasn't been happening over and over again. It's already, the prophecy's always working. Father's always been true. It's not coming only at some end. It's been happening until the end. It's happened many times. The end has happened for people many times. The end of a nation. That was their end. At some point, it's going to be the world's end because it's shrinking. It's becoming one. Then when the judgment comes, it happens on all of the one thing, which will be worldwide. Can't imagine what that would look like. Don't like thinking about it, but it's there. It is. There it is. Can't not ever think about it, or like just put it away and bury it, stick your head in the ground, pretend that there's no reality to it. I don't know what details are coming in some kind of perfect detail, but it's not going to be good. It's going to be more control. And the devil is the false god. The Creator's eyes are on the good and the evil, the righteous and unrighteous, but so is the devil, the 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 wicked way, the counterfeit cameras, the eye of Horus, watching everyone everywhere, trying to be God. And so that's what man's heart is, like his father needs to always know and watch and see, because it's in sin all the time. It might get attacked at any time or stolen from, and then it's expecting it. That's why it's guarding itself so crazily. Has no faith or belief in the Creator, and it's doing sin. These companies and institutions are doing so much sin, they have to protect themselves with the law like crazy, and put cameras everywhere, because they're a bunch of lying, murdering thieves stealing from people legally, because they created their own rules. Nothing's going to stop it except the judgment. We're not going to stop it. I'm not going to stop what the devil built for thousands of years. That's crazy. Few people are going to go and stop it now. It's only going to, if someone tries, it'll cause bloodshed. It'll cause another war. And how is that good? People want war, revolution. Well, they'll get it. They might get it from their neighbor with the sawed off to steal their chicken so they can eat. Every generation seems to forget about the past completely. How many times must have every nation at some point gone in famine and struggle and trouble? Well, it's coming again. We read that for a reason. It happens. At the proper time, it happens. And nobody seems to ever turn it back. Mankind, how come he doesn't stop it with his free will? Stop it. This is not good. If you're good and we care about people, stop it. They never stop it. They can't stop the Creator's judgment for sin. Power of the Creator is undeniable. Can't be thwarted or turned back. If he determines the judgment, it's coming. He whistles like someone whistles to a dog, and the nation goes and destroys another nation because it's in delusion, but it's actually doing the Creator's purpose. But in their mind, they have a delusion. That's why they're fulfilling the purpose, because they got a weird delusion in their mind. But in heaven, it's not that. It's actually the judgment. Whistle, and down goes Jerusalem by the Romans. What was the Romans' excuse? Well, they got all their excuses. Has nothing to do with reality in heaven. It's because of Jerusalem's sin. That's why. But the Romans have some other weird reasons in their mind for the war. The enmity is so severe, it needs to go and kill and attack it for some reason strange. Almost like the wrath of the devil is just say, go and kill, steal, and destroy. I release some restraint, and my leash is unleashed. I was holding this back from you people killing each other. I was giving you all these gifts. You didn't kill your neighbor literally because of me. If I let the restraint go, you would. We would. Everyone would. Isn't that why we read for a severe judgment on Judas? Satan enters him. He loses all restraint and power and suicides. There's a mercy in this, because it's like not to do with self completely. He can't do anything about it. Strong judgment to be feared. Because if that's determined, no one can turn it back. Judas does not turn it back. He goes into destruction. thought there was no reason to fear the Creator, that we're just reading it for no reason over and over again in His Word. Don't to fear Him, fear His judgment. That leads to good. That leads to obedience. It's connected to good. For our own good. The opposite of destruction and life instead. Is there never any hope for Judas now? Is it over forever? Is that who the Creator is? No hope forever for Judas? Where do I read that? No hope with no end. I don't read that anywhere. I do read about a kingdom that will have no end. I don't read about judgment and torture or something like this with no end anywhere. Judgment produces something eventually. It accomplishes a purpose, and that purpose being accomplished means it's not forever because it accomplishes something. So then a nation doesn't suffer forever. Sodom and Gomorrah doesn't get judged forever. It accomplishes something. Nobody suffers forever, literally. But the suffering of this creation is real right now, though. We need life, His life. It's just more and more amazing to me every day that the truth just can't be spoken in this world. It's just not allowed. And I mean truth, not just saying the right words. I don't ever mean that. Unless I say it specifically, I guess, saying the right words. But truth is understanding the words and doing it. That's what I mean by truth. It's like it's not allowed in this world. The devil won't allow it. Not in his kingdoms. His time is short. What does that look like spiritually? What are we learning in Revelation on his time is short? That means people somewhere deep down inside them know that their time is short. Therefore, they have to try to collect as much as they can in this life because their time's running out. It applies to everyone. Somewhere deep inside of humanity and unbelief, they know there's some kind of end also in general for the whole world, and it's running out. It's way down deep in there, buried, but it's covered, it's buried, but it's in there. They know somewhere deep down inside, but it's covered with the delusion so that it doesn't ever think about those things because that's torment. But I know it's deep down in there somewhere, because if it's true for the devil, it's true for everyone. It's true for the devil and people. That's how they know their time is short. Instead of redeeming the time, like the apostle says, they redeem the time. Who can see the difference of what these two are, though? Redeeming the time or redeeming the time. One is good, one is evil. They're the same words. Same words. Redeeming the time. But he's not speaking out of evil. He's speaking out of good, to do more good. There's not much time to be perfected and overcome sin. Redeem the time. But the evil way is there's not much time left. I need to do and create and become what I need to become and gain worldly gain as quick as I can. Time's running out. It's the exact opposite. The devil's time is short and he knows it. So he's trying to make up for it right now. It's a delusion. It doesn't work. Time will come. But they live in the present trying to forget the future as if it will never come. And then tomorrow it does the same thing. Tomorrow will be better than today, I read. Creator has an answer for every single thought that someone can think of. It's in his word that man does in his heart. Every single thought. Tomorrow will be better today than today. Why do we read that? Because that's what the heart's doing. In delusion, in party, in sin, in darkness. Tomorrow will be better today. That's how it tries to comfort itself. Time's running out regardless. Everyone's end comes. And for many, many, many people, it's already come and passed long ago. So we don't live in this world as if this is our home, because this world and the things of it are passing away. Living for the Creator, for the things to come, for the kingdom of heaven now. And with it's all one with the hope for the future and living for the future, but living now for the Creator, for the future, and not living for this world today now as if this is permanent, because it's not. And the way the world runs is temporary. The sin in it is temporary. So then it's just not wise to live as if it's permanent. And then man doesn't live forever anyway. So even if that thing was permanent, his life isn't permanent. But then both are temporary though. In that way, it's hard to do this work every day when there's evil all around you trying to bring you down. Pretty difficult. We have to rely on the Creator every single day, because it tries to bring you down. Self tries to bring you down because of that old man trying to appear again and do some carnal, foolish thing. It'll cause anxiety not to live as what we read. That's why we read not to worry for tomorrow, because it will cause anxiety to break those words. You know, Father has the good intention to obey those words. It's for our own good, not to worry about tomorrow. But it tempts you all the time, though. It tempts you to worry about tomorrow. Feels like you're behind. Feels like you have 10,000 pounds of weight when it starts trying to creep in that you have to do. But is it real? Or is it just a trick? So then the best thing is real faith. That's it. Everything else fails in comparison. There's no power from the Creator. If you live His way every day, then you just live His way every day. Instead of the darkness going, tomorrow will be better than today, and then you live like that every day. Two opposite things. Tomorrow will be better than today. That's how I comfort myself today. But instead, just believing in the Creator today, and when tomorrow comes, you do the same thing. It's like spiritually the opposite of the unbelief, false comfort thing. Especially with the times we're in. It's not 20 years ago. It's 2022. It's a little different than 1999. Who can deny it? It's not the same. We weren't at $30 trillion of debt in 1999. It's getting real bad. I think it's good to be aware of it, but not to let it overtake us, but just to be aware of it, not to pretend it doesn't exist either, to balance this thing out somehow. $30 trillion of debt. It blew my mind checking it, because the last time I checked was about a year and a half ago, or a year ago, I think, and it was like 27 trillion. And it just bumped up to 30 in no time at all. National debt. The debt clock, the live debt clock, is all red, flashing in red. There's some green ones, and I don't understand all those different numbers, but it doesn't look so good to me. Who's doing that calculation? Has anyone wondered? What on earth is that? It's calculating a negative thing that probably has truth to it. I don't know how accurate it is, but probably a lot of it is accurate. It's weird. It's a weird system, this world. It's like taking pride in the debt it's in or something. What is going to be the number before it doesn't sustain the way it is now, before it like collapses? What's the number? Is it 33? I wonder if it's going to be 33 trillion. At this rate, that will happen in like a year or two. looking at the rate from 2 years ago, it's going to go to 33 pretty quick. 2 or 3 years at the most, it seems to me. Makes me wonder. I've seen that number everywhere in the world, and it's just a mockery. Mockery of Messiah. What else? Because Messiah was 33 something. It's anti-Messiah. It's mocking. It's replacing. It's mixing. It's taking something that's true and creating its own thing. That's why we see that 33, because it's going back to Messiah. It's the devil's work. 33 levels of Freemasonry and enlightenment. Messiah speaks of the true light, not Gnostic garbage, that fake light that's darkness in reality. The more people you kill, the more enlightened you are. The more you rise up in this world and destroy and deceive people, the more enlightened you are. Yeah, that's the devil's enlightening to darkness. It's not the real thing. It's not true. There's no light in those people. They're liars, tricksters, Gnostics, whatever whatever name it is, it's no good. They're brotherhoods in evil, and these powerful people have connections so often. Religious leaders, sports players, presidents. It's a weird connection so many of them have. It's nasty. You can only look at that so much to turn away from it. See, here's a reason to fear the Creator. Because if someone punches fists with literal blood, it will do something, and it will have power over them. That's why we fear the Creator. Part of why. Because it's real. It's not fake. It's not a joke. It's not a game. These people never come out of blood brother garbage. They stay there. That's what the evidence seems to show me. They never come out of that. They teach people that it's okay in the movies. Teach all these things that they're okay. Wicked sacrifice is okay. Adultery is okay. Murder is okay. I mean, how obvious is that? People are laughing when the head rolls down the stairs, like I've done in the past. But it's not so funny to me anymore. That's a human life with the head rolling down the stairs. Pretty vile. As if it's a good thing. If there was a bad guy, it's a good thing. Well, the guy who slashes off the head is not good. Who cares if it's a bad guy? That's a wicked work. They're both bad then. It's all evil. It's hard to turn away from that in the beginning when the Creator starts showing us, because the flesh loves it. Yes, it does. Flesh likes it, thinks it's good. So how do you tell someone, stop this today? That's just going to kill them, because they have to actually go through the heart change with the Creator giving them change for the heart. In reality, over time, they can't do what that person said in one day. It's not possible. It has to go through the process. The Creator gets us off of things, and it doesn't happen in one day. Maybe because we can't handle it. Go crazy. Makes you want to go back to more of it if you try. It's a fine line. Telling someone, commanding them to do something so powerful in one day never works anyways. You know what I'm speaking of. Speaking of self too. That's how I know. Also, can't be done in one day. It's just a constant miracle. The Creator just makes you who you need to be, and before you know it, you look back a few months and go, wow, I'm not doing this anymore, or way less. It's a miracle. But it never seems like you're getting far at the moment. It doesn't seem like you grow very much in a couple days. Maybe because it looks something like the natural. You look at the plant 2 days later, it looks the same. But it did grow. It's just small, slow. That's what takes so much patience, because it's slow. If you want to go faster, it doesn't happen. Does that make an excuse to sin? Well, it could be a temptation. If it doesn't go faster, I might as well sin. All these tricks knocking at the door constantly. They don't believe in the narrow way, what that is, which is growth. It's the creation is screaming out this truth with things growing. It doesn't become what it does in one day or even a week or a month. And so, yeah, some things grow faster and slower. It doesn't change the truth. It doesn't become what it becomes in one day. Why do things grow out of the dirt anyways? Has anyone ever wondered? What is dirt? Seemingly nothing, dirt, dirty, and yet all life comes from it. It's like a miracle staring in everyone's face. You just throw some dirt and it works. Just throw some dirt, splash some water, keeps it alive. No dirt, it starts dying. It's got all these minerals and things, with all these complex things working together somehow. Just, I don't see a reason for it to work unless, except through the creator making it work himself. That's why it works. That's what I see. I don't see a natural process without the creator. I see it's alive because of the creator making the laws work, making it work. Unbeliever wants to grow something and then they grow something in their backyard. It's a gift that happened for a reason. Father allowed it. He's the one sustaining all life. Yes, they planted the seed and they could say they did it. It's a trick, though, to say I did it, though, from self. That's pride. They did not make the seed sprout. We don't do that. It's like a gift. It's working through the creation, the creator. It's working through him only. Even in unbelief, still doing that. It's only working through him. Even though it's blind, it's still true. Why does that seed sprout? Because it's in the dirt? That's not answering the question fully. That's not the question. Because it's in dirt and water and, it's in the proper place. But why does it do that, though? Why? It's like magic. It's not magic, but it's like a miracle. How does that tiny little seed that's you cut up and examine it and there's nothing, even though it's not nothing, but it's practically nothing, and then it becomes what it becomes? How? It's insane. Are we that blind? Is this world that blind? Waiting for a miracle and it's staring back at their face. I've heard these words said before, but it is true words. There's hope for the animals too. There's many scriptures about the animals. People ignore this. It's a weird, strange thing that it's everything backwards. It's as if they're not part of the creation or something. Animals do go into Noah's Ark, even if that's representing people. They still are literal animals going in the ark. And we do read about four-footed beasts in Revelation. How about it's mankind and beast and animals, literally. It's both, representing that and that. I don't know what the Creator will do, how he will do it, but it's a teaching consistent in Scripture. They're not left out. The Messiah knows this. The Creator of the heavens and earth notices when one bird falls. He notices it. He knows. That means someone knows. The Creator knows. It didn't go unnoticed. One bird knows when it falls. But it looks violently wicked to try to bring it together. That's man's problem. Can't go by what it looks like today. because it looks so wicked and man's doing so much evil and there's death everywhere. That can't trump the truth. Truth trumps death. You save man and beast. We read, you save man and beast. He does give things to the animals, not just mankind. And somehow the creator is not the creation, not to make graven images, not to get confused and say the creator's a beast. He's not. Or, make these Trinity God beasts and things, reptiles and birds for mascots, for schools, lions everywhere, and heads all over the United States, Washington, pagan things everywhere that always have been there, but we're blind to it until he starts showing us that this has always been Babylon. And I have it in my mind. I see it. The United States is like the queen of Babylon for the end times. How can it not be? That Statue of Liberty is like the queen of Babylon. She sits higher than all the nations in pride. Nothing will ever hurt me or torment me. I will see no sorrow and death ever. I sit as a widow and no one can touch me. If that's not the spirit of the United States, I don't know what is. For misery and death is coming in one day. Never do that to the Creator and say that it's going to do something. The Titanic isn't going to sink. Not even God can take it down. Even if that's true, who knows? And then because they say that, he takes it down. He makes them blind. Who doesn't see an iceberg? Who's not watching with thousands of people on board and their life at stake? Now, how does someone know the Creator's judgment on that? How can anyone know thousands of people's? Not going to go there. Not touching it. The Creator has mercy on whom he has mercy. It seems to me that people don't accept that at all. They don't accept what we read there as truth, which is denial of self, which is being in our place, not the Creator, not understanding what he understands. The fixed stars, the wandering stars don't stay in their place. They're out of their place. Just like the messengers that were out of their place, but now in everlasting change until the judgment. Everlasting change, age abiding change. Meaning it's a very sure thing. They're not going to escape the judgment. It's not about being underground suffering right now forever. It's not the meaning. Although it can sound like that at first if someone has that belief already. Cruel and unusual. Death is like a mercy. No one can suffer too long forever, People say that too. At least he's not suffering anymore. I guess everyone gets good practice, huh? Going to sleep every day, it's like practice. We don't make it up. To the Creator, it's just like sleep. Messiah says he sleeps, and they laughed. They didn't believe him. If he sleeps, he would wake up. Then he showed them he was just sleeping. Showed them. Father showed him through Messiah, but Messiah showed him, the resurrecting Lazarus, that he was just sleeping, like he said. But they thought he was speaking of literally sleeping and waking up. They didn't believe in their heart the power. Do they believe that today? You know, we're reading that for a reason. They didn't believe it, but then they saw it. So the Creator can do that. Isn't that a teaching, at least, that he can do that? He's done it already with Messiah as the example, but he's done it even before Messiah, through Messiah. This is not a big deal, but I've wondered if John, the book of John, is actually written by Lazarus. That came to me some time back, and I started looking into it, and it seems like it might be true. I don't know for sure. It seems to match, though. Maybe not, but it's strange if it's not. Something's not right if it's not true, because I'm seeing some things that just seem undeniable. The one that Messiah loved, or the one that, however we read it, wouldn't it be Lazarus, someone that was resurrected from the dead? Because the more the Creator does for someone, the more they can show love back, like we read. And that would have been the biggest thing out of anything, dying and coming alive. And we read in John, it doesn't say who the writer is. We do read of John the Baptist, I think, but that's not the writer. He makes himself in the third person and doesn't reveal his name in all of the book of John. And at the end of John, it seems to be true at the end. I think when we read, just seems like it's a connection. Maybe not. I mean, the Creator, it's like, it doesn't matter. I don't see that it matters if it is true and it's John. It's not like that's the Creator's word. Titles of books, you know. I don't know. What else? Oh, it's gotten dark on the screen. Just noticed that. Getting dark live. Hopefully that's not what's going on inside for anybody, but the opposite. Getting brighter, lighter. Becoming harder to believe how people live as the days go by. It's not there. It's not out of blame. It's just literally true. Just, I'm not understanding it anymore. Don't know how to do that anymore. Doesn't make sense to me anymore. It doesn't do anything for me anymore. So it's like, what do you do? Where do you go? You keep finding out. That's all I keep finding out is you keep finding out. That's what dying seems to be. Everything seems to be dying. That was other things coming alive, but then that the world is not that thing coming alive. So it feels like you're stuck in a way. You don't belong. And it's getting more true every day. That's the weird thing. What is it going to look like a year from now for somebody? It's going to be more enmity to the world, more not understanding why it's doing what it's doing a year from now than today. But understanding, nevertheless, why people are doing what they're doing, understanding that darkness, but then again, not understanding compared to the new. I guess the only thing left to do is just the Creator's will. Maybe that's what we're supposed to do. Revelation. And the world's not doing that. There's a job to do for everybody, whatever he gives them. Different things, but still somehow connected to his truth, to him. But there's a lot of people that claim to be doing his work, They're rampant everywhere. Everybody's saying that. That much is true. God is speaking to everyone. Although we know in Scripture he does not speak to everyone, only his people. He doesn't speak to Gentiles, which are still unbelievers. That's true today. But it doesn't look like, with what the world says and creates for an image, the Father's word looks like it's false if we believe what the world says. Makes him out to be a liar. How would the Creator show that he could do these things special, unless without there being a time for that? Meaning not forever, but a specific time to show that. If it's not going to be like that forever, how can someone accuse of him being partial? They can't. There's no reality to it if it never will be reality. It's just a certain time that his people are something becoming that the world's not, believers, then the rest are not, for a time. We don't make that up. It's a royal, special priesthood, holy people. Someone can't make themselves that. They can't do that. Father has to make someone that for real. They can't make themselves that. That's pride. So the world can't see how this could be true without pride. Because the only way the world sees is making self that. If you say or they hear that's what his people are, they'll just see it as pride. And we can't do anything about it. You could tell them, but you can't change their heart. Messiah told them they didn't believe him, couldn't change their heart. Isn't this the reality of what we read, what Messiah did? These are not my works, these are the Father's works, and nobody believed him. That was Messiah's reality. I wonder what our reality has to be. It does bring out some things that are pretty big that would never be brought out if that weren't true. It's like a special thing it brings out to not be believed while telling the truth. How would that work if it was all truth at the same time? It contrasts what the Father is, and his light, truth, really brings out who he is. That I don't see how it could bring out in the same way if these things all were not working as they are now, with evil. Without evil, how does it bring it out? How do people know that that's who he is if he never proved it? No one ever seen it. Is he going to prove it to all people? Yes, yes, but just not all at the same time. Blessed is the one that does not see and believes. This is the better way, instead of waiting to see, like doubting Thomas. Isn't that revealing mankind's heart in general? I will not believe until I see. Seeing is believing. Yeah, but there's no blessing for that. They will believe too, but there's no blessing right now for that. It's not special. It doesn't mean anything to see when you believe, or believe when you see. Because now it's not faith. It needs to be faith. So there's something about it that has to be this way. It's important. That's why the apostle says otherwise it wouldn't be faith. Otherwise it wouldn't be grace. It's a problem if it's not. It must be important. Does mankind think it's important? That faith needs to be what faith is, and a gift needs to be what a gift is. And as soon as it's not that, it's no longer an actual gift according to the definition of gift. from the Creator, heaven, meaning of gift, real gift, then it's not a gift anymore. Then it's not giving. Then the Creator can't give. It would be a lie, which is not a real gift. And faith would be a lie. It wouldn't be real faith. It would just be saying faith, but it was actually no faith. Just believe like a little child. That's it. Now, if all the world said, believe like a child today on the TV everywhere, I wouldn't say that nobody would end up believing. That's not the point. But what would it do for the world? Would it not turn back and be exactly what it is next week? 99.99% of it. So, it's a deep problem. It's not about the words only. Religion has said the words. They've said many right words. And look where the condition of we are in, on the brink of collapse. It's not working. Maybe the Creator has to prove that out also. It's not working. There's a lot of things to consider. Well, I think that's it. How long is it? 2 hours at most. Oh, oh, okay. I guess that's it. Please take care, seek truth from above.